7 years ago, my brother, Alan, made a seemingly rash decision to marry someone pretty suddenly, Jan. From very early on, they had issues that she often brought to everyone. This is not how the family operates, and if I am being honest, she made everyone extremely uncomfortable multiple times by airing her grievances to anyone who would listen. Nothing major, no abuse or cheating or anything. Despite that, my family was warm to her because really it was Alan's life and decision. We accepted her and her child from a previous marriage and were thrilled when they welcomed a child together. I say I'm confident that at the very least, Alan was leery of her because he called me out of the blue to remind me I was the beneficiary of his insurance policy and that he'd like me to use that money to create education funds for the kids. This conversation took place 2 years ago. Well, Alan died in an accident about 3 months ago. Jan has continued to utilise the family for help, which is totally fine. I went through the process with the life insurance company and submitted all needed paperwork, and everything seemed fine. I 100% intend to abide by Alan's wishes. Everything was okay with Jan until recently. Recently, Jan started acting outwardly hostile, accusing my and Alan's mother of stealing Alan's money. Jan, likely with the urging and help of a third party, went digging into information about life insurance and learned that there is a policy, though she could not get additional info as she is not the beneficiary. This appears to be where and when she decided to start acting hostile. She's outwardly confrontational to my mum, not me. I attempted to sit down with Jan and explain things with the help of a translator, believing that perhaps a language barrier and a lack of understanding of how these things work were creating problems. She is not originally from here. She went off screaming about how she's his wife and the money is hers and my mother is stealing from her. I tried to explain that my mother has nothing to do with this and I'm not stealing anything. She wants to hear none of it and seems to waffle between my mother, forced my brother to make her the beneficiary. She's not on it, and there was no beneficiary, there is. She also does not find it acceptable that this money will be going towards the children's educational needs. I don't understand why. She stormed off. I was mortified by her behaviour. I left, apologised to the translator and haven't attempted to speak with her again, although I've seen the children for already scheduled events. So am I the jerk for not sharing this information with her initially? ETA. Several people have mentioned Jan perhaps being concerned about finances. Her finances are fine. Additional funds have been dispersed to her and will continue to be. The children are in no danger, nor is she. Now here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I would be worried about your sister-in-law's behaviour and who is this person that is helping her? What are her intentions by being so fixed in the idea that your mother is the bad guy here? I would strongly recommend you have a lawyer to help you and your mother to make sure you have access to your nephew. As for your brother's money, see if you can make a trust fund that the kids will have access to education, but you will get to authorise their spending because I wouldn't pass your sister-in-law trying to take this money since she seems to think this should be hers. Comment 2. If your brother had wanted his wife to know about the insurance policy, he would have told her. He had years to tell her. If your brother had trusted his wife with the money, he would have made her the beneficiary. Okay, so your sister-in-law isn't happy. Well, that sucks for her. Not the idiot and do what your brother wanted. His widow sounds greedy and volatile. Don't let her get her hands on the money. You know, she could just be glad that her husband was looking to secure his kids' education in case something happened to him. Comment 3. Not the idiot. But was there another policy left to his wife in case of death? Is the house paid for? Does she work? Who knows his reasoning? But I'd be upset if my sister-in-law had insurance money sitting in savings for 15 years for my kids' college, but I no longer had my husband's income to help with the costs of raising them. Not the idiot. Now for the next story. My youngest daughter recently turned 12 years old. It was a rare occasion where all of the grandchildren were together. My older sister was visiting from another state for the weekend with her college-aged daughter, and we came to an agreement with my late brother's ex-wife so that his children were with us for a few hours. That's all to say there are a lot of moving parts to getting this entire family together. There have also been several deaths in the family in the last year. I wanted to get a picture with my mother and the grandchildren while we have the opportunity, since it might never happen that we're all gathered at the same time like this again. However, when I went to get the photo and I called for all the grandkids to go sit with Grandma, the niece of my older brother's partner went to sit with my mother as well. I tried to be very gentle and told her, "Not you, sweetie, just the grandchildren." Poor thing doesn't have much going on in her little head, and she just stood there like a deer in headlights until I beckoned her to come stand near me instead, before letting the children back outside to play. Next thing I know, my brother is asking me what happened because she's crying to him about it, and he was furious with me over this. Instead of trying to understand my reasoning, I gave him that I don't want some random child in what might be the last photo of Mum and the kids. They decided to leave. He childishly hasn't spoken to me in a week, and I'm not wrong to think he's the one overreacting and being unreasonable about this. Another edit to say my mother is not the most lucid, and she does not know who this little girl is. The most they do together is sit in silence when the other children are playing. Since this little girl is very shy and often won't go out to play, instead she glues herself to my mother, who won't move away from her. They have tea parties in silence, and the girl makes Play-Doh food for my mother, who pretends to eat it. As far as I know, based on how the girl looks, I believe my mother thinks her to be the daughter of a woman who used to work for the family when my mother was young, and they would be watched together. Now for the next story. We're all based in England. My girlfriend's cousin has been planning a wedding in Italy for next May for the last couple of years, and has asked my girlfriend to be a bridesmaid. She made it quite clear from day one that she strictly wasn't allowing any partners or children to the wedding. This has sparked quite a lot of controversy in her family, with many of the family now boycotting the wedding because their partners, who I might add used to be very close friends with the bride, aren't invited. I took this quite personally for a while myself, before realising it more than likely is just down to cost and numbers. But nevertheless, I have always said to my girlfriend that if she wants to go, then I'm happy for her to do so. If she doesn't, then I'll also respect whatever choice she makes. I'm not a huge wedding lover anyway, so our grand plan was to still travel to Italy and have a holiday out of it, myself and our little boy, who will be 1 year old, just exploring for the day she's at the wedding. At this point, financially, we were in quite a good place to do so. However, this year we've hit quite significant financial difficulty. Our 7-month-old son is growing in and out of clothes at the blink of an eye. I left my job in the springtime to pursue starting my own business. I invested my savings into starting it up, and business has been going well and I've been surviving, but I'm not at too stable of a salary just yet. And then in the summertime, my girlfriend, while on maternity leave, found out she was being laid off due to budget cuts. She got a fairly small payout and has since used a chunk of it to pay off some debts and buy things for our baby, while my finances have been covering the household bills, car finance, fuel, etc., while I have a few small debts to pay off as well. We've had to also sell her car and share mine, as we couldn't afford to run 2 cars anymore. She wants us to go on holiday next March for our son's first birthday, which I'd love to do, but I've had to say we might not be able to, so she's mad about that. Then there's also Italy to pay for in May, that I've told her I'm struggling majorly at the minute to forecast for. I've tried to raise my concerns with her over the last few months about the travel costs for the wedding, but she's not really been responding. Then we got into an argument a few days ago where I raised it and she still hasn't discussed it with me, because I honestly think she is expecting me to pay it. Had I have actually been invited to the wedding myself, then I feel like things would be different and we could compromise on some sort of cost or saved very harshly for it. But I feel quite put out while already in financial difficulty, paying for her just to go to a wedding, as otherwise if it wasn't for this wedding, we more than likely wouldn't have been planning a trip to Italy in the first place. I have always wanted to go to Italy, but I'm struggling to enjoy the idea of going next year solely for a wedding when we can't afford it. Am I the jerk? Now, for the next story. My brother, his wife, and their 2 kids are on vacation with me and my family. My niece started her period a couple of days in, unfortunately, and she uses cloth pads. This is fine. I've heard that it's better for the skin and such. However, the issue comes that she's soaking her pads in the shared bathroom every day. She soaks them as, and when they need cleaning, before tossing them in her wet bag. So she'll go to the bathroom, change, toss it in the sink, and then leave while it's soaking and go and do other things. Several times now I've gone into the bathroom to see her pads floating around in a bloody bath, and it's nauseating. I also hate the fact that we're washing our hands and brushing our teeth in a sink that has had her period blood in. I spoke to my brother about it, but he seemed unbothered. Once he himself came into the bathroom and cleaned it for her because I was, in his words, bitching about it. He seems happy to indulge in this behaviour. I was getting nowhere speaking to him, so I spoke to my niece directly. I first asked her not to which her reply was, "Use the other sink." And when I told her it really wasn't appropriate, she told me she didn't care and that I was letting my internalised misogyny shine through. I stopped the conversation, but she told her parents that I was making her feel ashamed, and they have both taken her side. I've decided to let it go, but the tension is still thick. Am I really that much of a jerk? Now here are the comments. Comment 1. They are wrong if they are expecting you to accept this in a shared space. While the niece should not feel ashamed for her choice in reusable sanitary devices, she is crossing boundaries when she expects that others exposed to that in a shared space to have no emotional response to it. You are correct. It is not sanitary. It is off-putting, and being grossed out by that does not make you sexist or a misogynist. It makes you a normal human reacting to normal stimuli that would be normal to elicit a response of disgust. The best way to draw an analogy to this to completely deflate their misogyny counter is this. How would they feel if you chose to use reusable condoms and soaked the used condom with all the bodily fluids in a bathroom sink that they would see when going to the bathroom and be forced to use a different sink afterward? Or later. Think about as they were brushing their teeth using the same sink. If they reply with anything other than disgust or a newly realised empathy to your situation, then they are lying. Comment 2. Not the idiot. She can use the bathroom tub at least. Maybe buy her a bowl or something to use for the bathroom or laundry room. I'm so tired of crazy people thinking that because things are natural, it means that no one should have decency or basic hygiene. Imagine if I had constant wet dreams. These are very natural for men, especially teenagers, and so I decided to wear socks over my weenie every time I go to sleep. Would all the people calling the OP and AH think it's cool if I put my cum-drenched socks to soak in the sink and left them there for everyone to see? Even though they might have to use the bathroom themselves? The same sink where you brush your teeth? It's natural after all. Comment 3. Not the idiot. There's nothing misogynistic about not wanting to have menstrual soup in a shared sink. Your brother and his wife are doing their daughter a great disservice by not teaching her how to handle her menstrual supplies in a hygienic manner, and a manner that is considerate of others. Your family shouldn't have to deal with this. Sharing space successfully means minimizing your impact on others. And just by rendering the sink unavailable to others, she's failing at that. She needs to be soaking her pads in a covered container that doesn't deny others full use of the shared facilities. Now for the next story. I work at a small candy store in a mall. Over the past few months, a woman named Rose, late 30s, started bringing her little girl Ava, 5 or 6 years old, in between 6 days a week. Ava is sick. I honestly don't know what it is, but I know it will most likely be fatal. She's still the sweetest little girl and we all adore her. We all have little goodies stashed away for when she visits, and I think we've all babysat her for a few minutes if Rose has to run to the bathroom or pick something up. Ava is very well taken care of. The vast majority of the time she's here, she's in a stroller and it always has toys, snacks, drinks, medicine, a change of clothes, spare diapers. She's not potty trained and everything else she needs. Rose has to work from the office every Friday. I don't know who watches Ava during school hours, but on Fridays after school, I always see Ava being dragged around by a group of teenage girls. If they come in, Ava is always very clingy with me and my co-workers. They very rarely have Ava's stroller, and when they do have it, they never put any supplies in it. Over the past 3 weeks, Ava always came in with a dirty diaper, and the girls never had anything to change her into. I've had to take her to the family bathroom, buy her diapers and a snack. She's always hungry when she comes in on Fridays, change her myself because they always refuse to, and take her back to be dragged around by her sister and her friends. She cries when she has to leave the store with them. I've been thinking of telling Rose about what we see on Fridays, but her older daughter is probably just a kid herself, and I'm not sure if I want to get her in trouble. Would I be the idiot if I told Rose that her older daughter may be mistreating Ava? Now here are the comments. Comment 1. You would be an idiot if you don't tell the mother. It's actually very bizarre that you were interfering to the point where you were changing the girl's diapers and feeding her. You are a candy store employee, not a family member. How on earth would you get into a situation where you're instructing them to change her diaper and feed her and they refuse, so you do these tasks? That's well outside the bounds of a stranger's conduct, and it's creepy. You could harm her and be liable. And it's also very likely that the family would not want a stranger doing something so intimate. If you were truly concerned for Ava's well-being, you should have called an authority, rather than doing these invasive tasks. I'm leaning towards this story being fake, but on the off chance it's not, you've acted very inappropriately and you should tell the mother. Comment 2. What on earth? Of course, tell the mum. Why are you caring about whether a teenager gets into trouble for neglecting the care of a sick and dying little girl? She's not being fed or changed, is barely cared for, and that's just what you observe from glimpses. If she is that ill, then such a strain could be dangerous. Is your plan to just continue to watch this child be mistreated when you fully have the power to intervene? Why? Not the idiot for telling mum, and you're the idiot for even considering that a teenager getting grounded could ever be a reason to ignore child abuse. Comment 3. I've been thinking of telling Rose about what we see on Fridays, but her older daughter is probably just a kid herself, and I'm not sure if I want to get her in trouble. The kid is a teen who should know better, and if she doesn't, or even if it's parentification, it's still not a reason for neglect, which is what you're seeing here. Something has to be said. At the very least, I would go to your manager and have them approach them, not the idiot. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.